Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Dave Adams. This is my course HTML and CSS for novices. And in this video, we're going to talk about responsiveness. So if you've been following this series, I talked earlier about the fact that websites should be able to adapt to screen sizes, be it mobile, desktop, or large screens, maybe TVs. So that is exactly what we're going to do in today's video. And I don't want this video to be too long, so I've pre-coded some stuff, but we're still going to code anyway. So basically what we have here is our main content with the main tag, and we have a navigation bar. So with the navigation bar, I have a container and a flex. I'll quickly show what the container does. And then we have the nav left and the nav right. So basically two divisions within the nav bar. So the left side and the right side. The left side holds the logo and the right side holds our navigation links. So in the browser, let me quickly, yes. So in the browser, this is how it looks. There's the nav left and there's the nav right. So let's go into our CSS and then let's uncomment this code, which I'll use to explain what the container does. So the container is the blue part. As you can see, it doesn't extend to the end of the nav bar. And this is because on extremely large screens, you don't want the user to scan from end to end. It's kind of annoying and stressful. So you can see here that I've applied a width of 80% until the container size, until 80% of the nav bar exceeds 1536 pixels. And then this will be applied 1536. That's why you have a width and a max width. So anything below this, the width of 80% will be applied. As soon as that 80% exceeds 1536, it defaults to this value. And then we have our margin left auto and margin right auto to center the the container. So if I take this out, you see that it's shifted to one side. So margin right auto balances everything out and it brings the container to the center. But that's not what we're focusing on today. So I'm just going to comment this out. And let's quickly get into media queries. And if you stay to the end of this video, I'm going to leave a bonus. I'm going to do some JavaScript in today's video. So for media queries, what you do is the @ symbol, type media, your brackets or your braces, and you do, it could be max width or min width. So it's basically the largest width you want your stuff to be applied, or the lowest or the least that you want your stuff to be applied. So I'm going with max width today because I'm targeting large mobile phones and below. So to access your device toolbar, you hit F12. And the device toolbar is toggled right here on this button that looks like a laptop and a mobile phone. So when you click it and it's active, it becomes blue. And this bar has various breakpoints. So we have the 4K, which simulates a TV, represents a TV. We have the large laptop, a small laptop, the tablet, the large mobile phone, which we are trying to do media queries for. So a large mobile phones, medium and small. So we're saying max width. That means it's going to start from 425 and from 425 to 320. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. So I'll just leave it in large mobile form because you can see that as it gets reduced to 320, the text is kind of messed up and we don't want that at all. So with our max width being 45 pixels, we're just going to copy this nav bar and we're going to change the values that we want to change. So I think maybe I want this padding to change. As for these, the background and the text color, it's going to stay the same, so I can take it out. And I want the width to be somewhere 50 pixels. And now I want to specify that the height be 100 viewport height. So what this means is we want it to be 100% of the parts of the screen that shows at any given time. So obviously a mobile phone won't be this long. So yeah, that's how 100% viewport height works. So now that we've applied some values to the nav, we also want to come to the container. So I'm just going to copy the media query, copy this container styling, replace the nav styling here. I can take this out. Right. And for the container on smaller devices or on mobile devices, I want the width to be 95%. I can take this one out. I mean, I can take all these out because I don't want to change their values. Now I'm going to copy the same container, I mean the media query, and paste it down here. And I'm going to attack the flex class. So in this example, what I did was make the flex class have a display flex in a direction of row. So I wanted it to display horizontally. And that's why the nav links and the logo are in one line. That's why they're in one line. Yes. It's the flex that causes that. So, yeah. So basically I want to make this column. So by default, when you apply flex, like I've said in my flex video, the direction is row, but I left it there for demonstration purposes. So I've changed it to column, and now I can take this out because it's applied by default. So I'm going to copy my media query yet again. And I'm going to copy this nav right, place it here. Now I want my nav right to have a width of 100%. And I don't want it to have a margin left auto. So I'm going to switch that to margin left 0. Because I don't want it to have a margin at all. Now I can copy this as well. In fact. So now we get to the nav links. And this is the nav links. It holds all the links that we see here. These 3 links, which are home, about, and contact. So back in my CSS, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here. So first off, I don't want to align item center. The reason why I did align item center was to vertically position my elements. So you can see right here that the home, about, and contact are vertically centered in the div. And that's what happens when you do the flex direction is a row. But when the flex direction becomes a column, then the align item center centers the content horizontally. And I don't want that. I want it to actually be at the beginning. So I'm going to change this value to start. And let's see what happens. So you can see that the home, about, and contact have been shifted to the start of the div. I want the height. The height is going to stay the same. Now this column gap, maybe I want to set it to 0 because we are not using column gap now. And I can justify content. Justify content. So in this scenario, justify content will do some vertical alignment. So I think I'll take it out because that's not the focus now. But I'm going to copy this column gap and paste it and change it to a row gap. The column gap was applied to the horizontal arrangement to space it out. But now that everything is vertical, we want to space it out vertically. So we're using a row gap, and we want it to be 40 px. So now we have spacing in between the text. Let me just comment it out so we see how it appears without the row gap. it's together, but we want it spaced out a bit. So that can be applied as well. And I think we're good to go. So this is our mobile nav. And when we extend it onto a large screen or laptop, tablet, it becomes horizontal. But on the mobile screen, so from 425 and below, it becomes vertical. And that's how media queries work. That's how responsiveness works. So everything looks good on no matter the screen size. So this is where the main video ends. If you're sticking around for the bonus video, then this is where it begins. Okay. So what do we want to do on the mobile? Right? So what I'm looking for is the nav. On the mobile, I want the nav to not display none. So let's see. Okay, so the nav isn't displaying. I've linked my JavaScript file here with a script tag and a source attribute, and this is my file. So before anything, I've also linked my font awesome icons using the CDN, and this is what I need. So I'm going to copy this line and I'm going to place it above the nav bar. Right. And then one other icon I want to do is close. Okay, yes, times close. That's how they call it. So where do I want the times to go? I want it to be my nav bar. So I'm just going to place it there. But this time, I'm quickly going to do some inline styling so the color is white, just so it's visible on the black background, against the black background. So we have that going, and we can go into our browser to see what's happening. So we have our browse icon active here. So now we're going to go straight into JavaScript. I want to give it an ID. I'll say open. And so that's going to be a button to toggle the nav bar to let the nav bar appear. No, this should be closed instead. And this should be open. ID open. Right, so what do I want to do? So I also want to target, I'm just going to use one of the media queries. I'm going to target open on smaller screens. I want it to appear, but generally, so display block, but generally I don't want it to appear. So I'm going to paste it outside. So normally it should not show at all. Display none. Same for close. Display none on large screens, but on smaller screens, I want it to show. So close. Yes. Let's see how that works. So on large screens, it disappears. On smaller screens, it shows. And that's how I want it to work. Now going into my JavaScript, I'm going to use what we call a DOM selector. So let's create our first variable. We're going to call this variable open, and we're going to assign a value to this variable. So what we use is the document dot get elements by ID. We're going to do some brackets and some quotation marks and single quotes. So we're going to use the ID name, which is open and close. So open, and I'm going to do the same for close. So it's going to be close. So Control D to select the next occurrence, and I'm going to do close as well. So I'm going to do console.log brackets. What console.log does is, no, shouldn't be brackets because I'm calling a variable, which you can see here, open. Same for close. So now that we can go into our browser, this is our elements tab, this is our console tab, and this is where you get to see what we're talking about. So we're displaying our elements in the console. You can see that that element has been selected. We also have our close element, but since the navbar isn't showing, we can't see it. So now what do we want to do? Let me comment this out. So let me leave a few comments. I'll leave this code in the description. So declaring variables. In fact, we are initializing them because we are assigning them right off the bat. Initializing variables. The next thing we're going to do is to add an event listener. Okay, so now we're going to add our event listener. Open dot add event listener. So for the event listener, we need a type of event which is going to be a click. And then we're going to trigger a function. So function, I want to do a function there and then. So within the function, just to test if this works, I'm going to paste this here. I'm going to do 1. So anytime there's a click, there should be 1 should be displayed. So we have 1 right here. So it means this is working. So what do we want to happen when this button is clicked? I'm also going to bring the navbar. I have to select the navbar. So const nav. Let me give this nav an ID of navbar. So I'm going to go into my JavaScript and select it with the navbar ID as well. So when this button is clicked, we want the nav to display. So we're going to use .style.display should be equal to block. So this has to be a string. It has to be in quotes because it's a string. So now let's do that. When we click on it, now it shows, and you can see the close button here, right? So if this shows, we also want to hide. The open button, right? So we can do open. We can just copy this and make it open. The display should be none because now the navbar is shown. We don't want to see the toggle button. So when we click it, now that toggle button is lost. So we can do the same thing for the close button as well. So we're adding an event listener yet again, and we're going to change all this to, okay, let me change this. So we're initializing a function as well. We're initiating a function. So what do we want to happen when the close button is clicked? First off, we want to check if the nav bar is showing. So does the nav bar have a style of display block? If yes, we want the same nav bar to have a display of none. Now we want to hide it. And when that is hidden, we also want to show this as well, which is the open button. We want to be block. So now let's see how that works. But before that, let's test. So on a large screen, everything shows, but as the width of the screen gets smaller and we run out of screen real estate, we want everything to be shown like this. So now when we click close, now we can toggle between showing the nav and not showing it. So basically that's how JavaScript works. Let me try to show you what's happening. I don't know if anything will change. Okay, yes. So pay attention to this, the display none. So when I click it, it changes to display block. And this also changes to a display none. And when I close it, this changes. So this is the DOM. And we just did some DOM manipulation. So thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I know it's really long, but I hope you learned something. In the next video, we're going to actually build a website using all these concepts, responsiveness, and everything that we basically learned throughout this course. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.